Hello there guys, Show here, and welcome back to another episode of 100 Minigames with Show. Love that intro, and it's already our fourth minigame. The last one was 4 in a row, and this time we are, as you have seen in the preview, Labyrinth. Yeah, I love that game. It's been a while since I last played it, to be honest, but it's such a fun game. So if you don't know the rules of the game or what this game is about, it is a labyrinth that is changing throughout the game or with every turn, and you have to find the treasure, or you have to get to the treasure and collect it before the other players, and the first who collected all his treasure wins the game. And you can move the walls like in a straight line. So yeah, this one was a bit tricky to figure out how we're gonna create this in Minecraft. So as you can see, there are fixed positions, kind of like this one, and it's always kind of like a 3x3. So this is kind of like a cross section, and then you have another one in the corner. So there are a few which are not able to move, kind of like this, and then we would have, oh, I messed that spacing up here. It is also a 3 between, and then kind of like another 3 between, and another corner section over here with 3 again. So this is kind of like those 3x3, or those tiles are fixed. They are not movable, but you can move walls between here and also between here. Like you can shift, can place a tile here and then move it in. So it is a bit tricky to do this in Minecraft because we have a push limit of 12. So I can't just do this here, kind of like place piston here and then say, okay, depending on what tile you place here, it's being moved in, and then you can kind of move this way or not. Might be possible if you separate it into individual sections which are moved, but I was not able to figure out that way. So you have your fixed sections, and then you kind of have your, let me get a different color here, your not fixed sections. Let's say it's this way, and indicated by the red sand. These ones can move, so either the wall goes up here and it's kind of separated so you can't move here, or it opens up here. And how we're gonna do this is quite nice. So it's a bit more randomized and a bit more kind of like RNG based as it would be in the actual Labyrinth game, but it kind of makes it more fun. So what we are gonna do, we are using observers and note blocks and pistons and stuff like this. So let me show you how we're gonna do this. What I first did, I was thinking, or I thought about, how can I move those lines individually, because in the actual game you place a tile here and then you move the whole line, but this line or the other ones are not affected. And I wanted to do the same here as well, to be able to just change the walls in one section. The tricky part about this is, as you can see, we have cross sections, and this tile, for example, just gonna use gray here instead. So where those two lines meet, you should also be able to move the walls, which are movable. But depending on if you move this, like the blue line, you have activated the blue line, or the magenta, yes, magenta line, it should only do, it shouldn't go through. For example, if you power this line, it shouldn't go over here and then do the rest of it. So we kind of have to separate those lines. and I thought about using just some simple piston magic here, which is quite nice. We just do a quick piston here. We have the block, we have an observer, and we have an O-block. Because the observer is giving off a 1 tick, so the piston is pushing the block, and then the block stays there. So if we give another input, it's removing that one. But what I felt about it would be like, throughout playtesting, it would be too easy to get to your treasure, or also for the player, because before you move your figure, you have to move the walls. And if you are kind of like stuck here, for example, you want to go this way, but the wall is up here and the treasure is on the other side, you just move those, like, move that line and the block is going down. As it's in the original game, you have like a certain amount of tiles, like a random tile which you can use, and it's not always ideal. So what I came up with is kind of a randomizer, which we're gonna use here, and the randomizer kind of gives you either retracts or pushes out a wall. So depending on that, you are given a random tile, which the actual game is also kind of like, it's very similar to the actual game. And how we can do this is with a powder snow or a shear, which we're gonna just place in to the dispenser like this. And the next thing, we're just gonna place an observer here, and then we place the tile up here. And let's say this is a wall, and this is kind of like the cross section, or actually kind of like this, and you can go over like this. And now, for example, you are it's your turn, and you see that some player is just one tile away from, like, maybe he's standing here, so the player kind of is standing here, and you want to hinder him getting over to this tile where the treasure is. So what do? You try your luck. Oh, and we are lucky, and the piston is pushed out, and the player next time, if it's his turn, tries, okay, I have to lower that wall to get over there. Okay, let's try if I'm lucky. And he's not lucky. So he tried to lower that wall, it didn't change, it wasn't lowered, and so he has to find another way. But he has to move, it's kind of. So this is kind of the way I thought about getting the randomizing tile or random tiles in the game as well. Let me build one module, and then I'm gonna show you how it is working. Okay, I made quite some progress here as I laid out the whole like fixed tiles here. Those are the tiles which are not changeable, and I used the colors as it is in the default game in each corner where each player starts. And I made a one tile here which is movable. So I kind of switch the colors here. Instead of sandstone, which is kind of fixed, I use birch to indicate, and dark oak. Okay, this is the dark oak line. I'm gonna use mangrove here to have a different kind of color-coded line. And the movable walls are indicated by the mud, the packed mud, not the mud bricks. The mud bricks walls are not movable, and also I raised it by one block so it actually feels like a wall. Right, so how are you gonna play this game? I liked the idea of using wind charges, which are rather cool. So you can either use wind charges or you just go over here and press the button. Either way works. And what we have down here with the redstone, we are transferring, because a button is giving off 2 impulses, because when it's pressed, so when the block is powered and when it's unpowered, it's giving off 2 impulses. And with this kind of like converter, we are converting it to 1 pulse. Throw wind charge, you can see it gave off 1 pulse. Let's do this again. Yeah, just 1 pulse here, but we have 2 pulses here. As you can see, 1, 2. But because of the delay here, it is only letting 1 pulse through. And that's quite a nice way to activate it. There you go. Now it was activated again and it lowered the wall. When we try again, we are not lucky. Now we are lucky and it is raised. This would be for the whole row here. So let me just build the whole row so we can see the whole redstone magic. And here we go. We got the whole line in of walls. And I also put down the other lines just to indicate where it is going. So we got 3 lines here, 1, 2, 3, those are the magenta ones. And then we have 3 lines here, 1, 2, and 3, which are the green ones. And you might wonder, okay, but what are you doing with the 2 cross sections, or with the cross sections you have? You need to enable it this way and this way as well. So this is where we have the snow or the observer here as well. So how we're gonna do this is quite simple. So let me just copy this one. Okay, that was not copied correctly. So we got this target block here because the signal is transferring over here, which we need, and we need a dispenser here again with, let me copy the whole, so we got the MBT data as well. There we go. And now we got it for this line because it's going through, it's powering this dispenser, and then it's pushing it up if it's like dispensing the powdered snow or not. Now for the lower part, we have to do the same. We also have to kind of get a randomizer in. So if this line is powered, it's also randomizing. And when it is pushing or if it's dispensing powdered snow, this line is powered, and we just put some redstone. We just put some redstone up here, because this one is also powering the sticky piston, and now we can power the sticky piston through 2 lines. This line here and the line below. We got now the cross sections done as well, and most of the time it's just 1 wall. So what I did, I picked the middle one, and one to the left or to the right is also powered by that line, because it's a 3x3 tile, and the same is done here. Pick the middle line and then one to the right, one to the left. As you can see, sometimes it's taken out to the left or to the right. It's also powered. All right, so let me get the magenta lines in as well and the green lines in as well, and I will be back to show you how it works. Alright, I got a bit swept away and just filled in the whole labyrinth to show you how it's done. The treasure is still missing, the players are still missing, the point system, how you get it, all that stuff we still have to implement. But the most important things are in. So now we have 2, or actually 3 rows of one color, and there are 3 rows of the mangrove and 3 of the dark oak, which indicates, okay, this row is moved when I hit this block, and the same goes with this and that with that. All right, so what is still or have to be tested is the outline, or how I laid out the paths, because it should be quite equal depending on where you start. It should be equally difficult to get to each treasure, but this has to be play tested to actually see. Maybe one of those is easier as the other starting points. Yeah, but let me show you how it's done. So for example, we want to change the walls on the red on this line here. So we just hit the block, and as you can see, it's firing. A few walls go up, a few go down, some stay, and that's how it should be done. So we got a lot of observers down here. It is quite a jungle, to be honest. So that's where it is, or why it's important to color code it, for me especially, to know which line is doing what and all that kind of nonsense. Yeah, so most of them actually dispense powdered snow. That's why a lot of walls went up and down, some didn't, and it's quite nice how you can power the observer. You can just put any redstone component below it, and because we have a one tick pause, it doesn't really matter what you place here. And I just opted for either using the redstone dust or the repeater itself. And then up here we connected those for the cross sections, kind of here, here, and here as well. So if you would hit this one, it should also trigger this section here. As you can see, some went down, and when we do this from the perspective here, you can see those two were powered. Also this one, and if we hit this one, it should also power, yeah. And now this one was powered as well, just this kind of wall here. So now we have a way to push how it's done in the actual game, push that line or and that line, and it's not interfering with other lines. Okay, so that is actually the logic of the redstone. So what we still have to implement is the players itself. So how you actually play the game. Are you standing here, and are the players standing here, and are they moving around? Are they going out and in again? So what I thought about doing is putting armor stands with the color-coded leather armor in each corner, and the player itself is not inside the labyrinth. Either he uses FreeCam to get a bird's eye perspective of the labyrinth and knows where to go, or just hops in here and not falls through. But how is he going to move it? I thought about just a fishing rod to move the player around, or the armor stand around. So for example, it's my turn. I have to go over here, which is a straight shot. So maybe we pick this one. So it's my turn. I have to move the walls. Of course, I want to move that wall, which is the red line. So let me see if I can hit it from over here. We might have to move a bit closer. There we go. Let's see if we are lucky. We are not lucky, but we still have to move our figure. So what we do, we just hook it and drag it one tile over, which would be here. So this is done by maybe 2 or 3 pushes, and then there it is. It's on this tile. So the next thing we are gonna do is we install the corners and a mechanism to be the color should be assigned randomly, and then we need another mechanism for the treasure. And I will place the treasure as well. Okay, we got all the redstone installed, so the only thing that is missing is the actual framework, the build itself. It's a bit floating in the air. But before we get to that, let me just show you what I put in the corner. So in each corner with the corresponding color, I just put this kind of tracking here of your treasure, which you still have to get because of the red. This is like you still have to find it, and the green one is you got it. And the first one, which gets all 3 treasures, is the winner. They're installed in each corner. Also with a barrel of a lot of fishing rods. You might might as well enchant them with unbreaking, so it's easier, or just one with mending as well, and the same here. So the command block here is just for testing because it summons an armor stand with the color-coded leather armor. I put one in each corner just to make it easier to get that, as if you play or build that in survival, you just have to get one and then you break it at the end. Also, we have pick your colors. It's just you put the colors in here, and then the players press the button to get a color randomly assigned. So it kind of makes it fair if you kind of know the strategy of one spot. You can't pick it yourself. It gets randomly assigned. And the last thing, we got the treasure. We got 12 treasure. That's why for 4 players, it's 3 for each. If you play with just 2 or 3, you can like make it 4 or 5 or whatever you want, how many treasures you want to find. And it also gets randomly assigned here. So place items after the game, and we have the 12 items in here, 3 in here and 12 in 9 in here, so it's 12 in total. Whatever treasure you want, just place it in an item frame, make it invisible, and there you go. You have the treasure which you collect, and it's also a simple dropper elevator which just puts the item back into that dropper here. You collect your items. For me in this case it's the glistening melon slice, the heart of the sea, and the redstone torch. And as you can see, the dropper below was also powered, so it put those 3 items into the upper. Okay, it's not what I wanted. It put it up in the upper, the top dropper for the next player to pick. And let me see, what color do I get? Yellow. So I would go over here, place my items in here, and of course shouldn't have them in there. And then I would get me a fishing rod and start playing. But before we do this, let's hit building mode and finish off the rest of the building. So it kind of looks like a labyrinth, and it kind of feels like it. So let's hit the last time-lapse mode. Here we go, we got us our labyrinth. It looks good from above the ground, I would say. You have to put that whole redstone stuff below the ground, and maybe you can encapsulate it in a pyramid or something. Might be cool. Also, what are you? You are wrongly placed. There we go. Now it should be fixed. Alright, and this is it. So the build is rather simple, and now it is kind of like encapsulated, which I like, and everything is placed. I also replaced those target blocks with node blocks. It's just simpler to hit them. And also we have now an indication of, did we hit it or not? There we go. Just put a simple node block down here as well, which is powered once, and a gold block for the ding down here. And so we actually know, we hit it. It is doing something, because sometimes you are very unlucky and it is not doing anything, and you don't know, did you hit the block? Is the power transfer down there? So an indication would be quite nice. Alright, let's put ourselves into survival and play a few rounds, I would say. Just to try to get a feeling of it. So for example, we are starting off very lucky because this one is open. So we are gonna try to make it harder for someone else. Maybe we just hit that one because we have to move one row before we can remove our own figure, and that was not good. There we go. Oh, that is not the middle one. There we go. Now we have moved our figure one like tile, and now it is going round and round. Let's, for example, say the red one hits this block and the green one hits this one and the blue one is going for this one, just randomly, and it's back to us. And we have to hit also one block. We're just going safe here and hitting the middle block because we need to go to the redstone. That's one of our treasure, and let's get to it. There we go, we made it. So this would mean we can move this one from down here to over here. That it's the green one. We got our first one. And the next one would be Heart of the Sea or the Glistening Balloon. Heart of the Sea, actually very lucky with our items here because it's just straight and there is no wall in between. So the next round, or after the second round, we would be able to make it over here. But this is also something you have to play test. What is a good kind of like setting of the walls, which makes it not too easy for some players, but also not too hard. It always depends on what you draw as well, because if I would have drawn maybe the glistening melon. Actually, I drew that one, so 2 lucky ones, but 1 really far away one. So this one is actually way harder, so it's actually quite balanced with what I got. Maybe other people had the same, they got the quite close one and then one which is far away or so, yeah. But it's random, so sometimes you're lucky, sometimes you're not lucky. And yeah, that's it about this episode. And for Labyrinth, the game, so of course the schematics of the redstone are in the description as always, and I will see you in the next episode of 100 Minigames for show. See ya!